What is going down, everybody? So, I know it's been a hot minute since I've ever done anything like this. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever done anything quite like this before, so I'm kind of treading new waters here. But, as I'm sure you're all aware, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet just came out. I'm very excited about it, and that kind of helped push me into wanting to make this video. And so I am. You're welcome. But, as everybody's well aware, this game is vastly different compared to previous Pokemon titles, and one of the biggest differences is the breeding. So, daycare centers are not a thing in this game. So that had people kind of wondering, well, what am I going to do for breeding? How is that going to work? How am I going to get competitive ready Pokemon? Very, very easily. It's actually somehow easier in this game than it was in Sword and Shield. And I'm going to go over a lot of that. What I am not going to go over is how to breed, like getting your IVs, your competitive ready Pokemon, just because as far as that goes, it's pretty much the same exact thing as it was in previous generations. And there's lots of resources for that too, so I don't want to deal with that. Instead, I am going to kind of go over how it's a bit different in this game, and because I had a lot of questions myself about how breeding is going to work in this game. Like kind of more specific stuff, like obviously I'm gonna go over it all in this video as much as I can. So, yeah, hit a few topics. This is from what also quick little disclaimer sort of thing. This is stuff that I have explored myself personally. There may be more stuff that has cropped up or will crop up after I've made this video. If that's the case, I can update it in the description, comments, wherever is most convenient. I don't know. But anyways, let's move on to a few of the specifics. First things first, your breeding items. All of your main breeding items are going to be the Everstone, Destiny Knot, all the specific power items, and a new item added to this game, the Mirror Herb, which it was shown off as a battle item, but it does have a very, very, very important effect in breeding, which I will touch on later. But for now, the Delibird Presence shop, it's not in every city, it's in kind of like the big main ones, but Mesa Goza, which is kind of like the central city that has it like right at the start. It's one of the first city, actually the first big city you go to. Everstone and power items are there right from the start. The Mirror Herb is kind of a bit later. It's in a town called Cascarafa. I could be butchering that, who knows. And the Destiny Knot, from my experience, it shows up in the Delibird shop after you get 4 gym badges. At least that's when it showed up for me. I don't know if progressing through the other main stories will affect that. It could, I don't know. Like I said, this is going off of what I've experienced. But you can buy all that stuff with just your normal money. You can also buy with the league points, which is something that was added in this game. You get them from battling trainers and getting the raids. It's just like the what was it called? I don't know. The Sword and Shield points from collecting the dens, that kind of stuff. So be sure to get all those, because again, those are going to be important. Next thing I do want to touch on is finding Ditto, because Ditto's obviously going to be an important part of this. I'm not too sure how much Ditto will be in this game specifically, but it is nice to have Dittos for breeding purposes. And to find Dittos, that's a little tricky in this game, just because everything is spawns in the overworld, and Dittos, unlike in Sword and Shield, they disguise themselves as other Pokemon in the area, so it can be a little obnoxious to find them. However, I have found that it can be pretty easy to find them if you run around in areas where they spawn. I believe they spawn kind of like the upper west middle area of the map, like right below where that big giant lake is, outside Medali. What you can do is you run around and you can lock on to wild Pokemon using left trigger. And if you haven't encountered Ditto before, but you're locking onto a Pokemon that you have encountered before, like let's say Meowth, if you lock onto a Meowth and you know you've encountered one before and it's showing like question marks where it normally say Meowth, that's your Ditto. If you have encountered Ditto before, it'll just say Ditto. So it's real easy to find if you just run around and lock on to random Pokemon in the area. And then once you start the encounter, like start the battle with them, the Ditto will just immediately transform back into Ditto, so you don't have to worry about that being kind of obnoxious. Alright, the next thing I do want to go over is sandwiches. Sandwiches play a pretty important, or they make breeding a whole lot easier. So sandwiches, different food items, they have egg power, which basically increases the spawn rate of eggs. You can get, like in the picnic, you can get different recipes to build different sandwiches with egg power, either 1, 2, or 3. You definitely want them active because that just makes everything so much easier to do. For getting the recipes, I've found that as you progress through the game, if you go into the sandwich shops that are around town, there is a dude just to the right of the counter. As you talk to him, he'll give you new recipes. I found that he only gives them to you after you clear gyms, so that's another thing. And then also in all the different shops that are around that sell ingredients for sandwiches, they'll also have new ingredients as you progress through the game. So be sure to check those after each gym badge, or I don't even know what to call them. As you progress through the game, be sure to check them regularly after you hit certain key points throughout the game, just to keep that stocked up. And there's also kind of the creative mode sandwich option mode. I said that already, where you can just throw ingredients on your sandwich and call it a day. There could be more optimal egg power recipes for that, but I feel like sandwiches haven't been explored enough, so I'll include that in the description or a comment or whatever if a more optimal egg power sandwich recipes pop up, just to speed that along. But yeah, egg sandwich, or just egg power 1, honestly, is enough to speed everything up, but egg level 2 and 3 are turbo mode. So next thing I do kind of want to touch on real quick is just a couple of general questions that some people might have going into this game, or going to breeding anyways, is first of all, overworld abilities, they don't seem to exist anymore. So abilities like Flame Body, Steam Engine, Magma Armor, they won't make your eggs hatch any faster. In the tests that I've done with I've had a Roly-Coly with Steam Engine, my eggs have hatched in about a minute and a half to 2 minutes, just running around on my mount. And it's pretty much the same thing without it. So eggs do hatch real quick in this game. And another thing, when you collect your eggs from the baskets, they go directly to your PC. So that kind of helps you hatch in bulk, I guess, because they're all gonna start with the same steps. So you could load up 5 eggs into your party, run around, and they all 5 of them will hatch in 2 minutes. So hatching eggs is really fast in this game. And then next thing to kind of touch on is Terra types. Terra types, you can't breed them down. So I've had a fire stunky it was a psychic stunky. All the stunky eggs that I've had that hatched from that, they've all been either Terra Poison or Terra Dark. Just because all eggs hatch with their default. You can change Terra types later on, but that's not for this video. Now, onto the breeding itself. There were a few different, I don't know what to call them, things that I was going to try to look for when it comes to basically having a full team of Pokemon in the daycare at the same time. The first one I wanted to figure out was what were the odds of getting the eggs you're looking for with 3 sets of parents from 3 different egg groups. Like if it would be breeding would kind of like look at the order of your party and go top to bottom, or if it would be random. Turns out it is random. So the example that I had, I believe, was a Sudowoodo with a Roly-Poly being in the mineral egg group. I had a Stunky, and I think it was a Cyclizar for the field egg group, and then I had a Finian and a Crab Brawler, Crab Brawler in the Water 3 egg group to figure out what was going on with them. Again, it was totally random. The eggs I ended up with were like 2 Stunky and 2 Finian. No Crabominable, or not Crabominable, Crab Brawler. No Crab Brawler, or no. What was the other one? Sudowoodo. Yeah, no baby Bonsai. And any of that set of eggs. The next thing I wanted to look at was Ditto, and you had a group of a full team of Pokemon. 1 Ditto, 5 Pokemon. See what the odds with that were. Try to figure out if maybe it was the same thing where we go top to bottom, but it is the same as the other one where it's just random. There's no guarantee of getting the baby that you want. Don't know why you would do that sort of thing, unless maybe you're actually I could see depending on what IVs you did or have or whatever. But if you don't have the bottle caps, maybe just have 5 parents that have a good assortment of IVs, and then maybe the Ditto with you can that I guess that kind of might up your odds of getting an egg with the IVs that you're looking for. That could be a use for that. I didn't even think about that. So there's one good use, potential use with the Ditto 5 parents. But as far as using assorted Pokemon, another thing I want to really go for. And then the last thing that I tried to check was to see if within egg groups you could have 2 followers with different egg moves and have them both pass down to the egg. Turns out it's not. Again, it's kind of just random. The example I was using, I think, was I forgot who I taught counter. Basically, I had counter on one Pokemon for baby Woopers, and then like haze and recover on the other one, and it was just probably 50-50 on which ones had counter and which ones had haze and recover as egg moves. So that doesn't work. So overall, try to just stick to having the 2 Pokemon that you specifically want to breed in your party. I'll stick with that. Just treat it as a normal daycare, and then maybe mess around with the Ditto and 5 other parents just to who knows, maybe that could increase your odds of IVs. Now, for the biggest addition to breeding in this generation, which streamlines everything, is the Mirror Herb. Now, in Sword and Shield, they added a feature where if you put 2 compatible Pokemon in the daycare, no, they don't even have, they have to be the same Pokemon, I think. I forget. It's been a while since I've bred anything in that game, or touched that game, honestly. But you have to have 2 of the same Pokemon. If you have one that has an egg move and one that has an open slot, if you leave them both in the daycare for a little bit, take them both out, both of them will have the egg moves. Egg moves would just transfer over like that. And that was one of the first things I checked in this game. That didn't happen at first, so that raised a few red flags for me. But then some other glorious human beings on the internet found out that the mirror herb basically does that same thing. So you give it to a Pokemon that you want to learn an egg move from another Pokemon, and leave it in the picnic for a little bit, and it'll inherit that egg move. Now, what makes it so much different and better in this game is that the Pokemon don't have to be compatible at all. They could be in totally different egg groups. So, for example, I have my Quagsire and my Finian. They're both different egg groups. Quagsire is Water 1 in Field. Finian is Water 3, so they shouldn't be compatible. Finian learns Aqua Tail through as an egg move. Quagsire has Aqua Tail, so I give the Mirror Herb to Finian, leave him in the picnic for a little bit, and Finian has Aqua Tail, which is huge. And I went a little bit further to see if I can have multiple Pokemon that have egg moves and transfer them to one. Like, in the example, I have Gimmighoul and Pawniard. They both have Astonish and Leer respectively. Stunky learns both those moves through egg moves. So I gave Stunky the Mirror Herb, put all three of them in the picnic for a little bit, close the picnic down, check Stunky. It's got Astonish and Leer. So that just streamlines everything. No more chain breeding to get the egg move that you want through 4 different babies. It's immediately massive quality of life thing. Anyways, that's basically everything that I have found out about breeding in this game. Like I said, this is everything that I found out so far. There could be more information that could pop up within the next couple of weeks as people explore the game a lot more. But hopefully this was enough to kind of help people get jump started on how things work in this game. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoy the game.